And welcome to all of our listeners, and welcome back to Live with Tim O'Shea. I'm Tim O'Shea, and we're live, but we're not live, but we are live, and we have an exciting episode for you guys here today. So 2 weeks ago was our inaugural episode, and a lot of people gave me compliments, and I want to thank you for tuning into that one if you did. But a lot of people were saying, hey, we're listening to Live with Tim O'Shea. Well, we don't even know who Tim O'Shea is, so that's my apologies for not giving a proper introduction. So my name is Tim O'Shea. I'm a graduate student athlete here at Southern Connecticut State University here in New Haven, Connecticut. I play football. I've been playing college football for the last 6 years. I've played at the Division II level, at the FCS level, and been a part of the Division I level FBS as well. I played at the University of Connecticut, Wagner College in Staten Island, New York, and of course here at Southern. I've really enjoyed my time here at Southern. I love the city of New Haven, and you know, I've just learned a lot, and football is my passion. I play college football, obviously, but sports in general and professional sports I love to talk about and debate about with my friends, so it was one of the inspirations behind starting this podcast. So like I said, you know, I am from, or I do live in New Haven, Connecticut, and a lot of people know New Haven, Connecticut from Barstool Sports. You know, Dave Portnoy going around to all the different types of pizza and naming it the pizza capital of the world. So I was thinking, yeah, I guess I could rank, you know, the New Haven pies, or we call it a pizza over here. I could rank the New Haven a pizza, but I think that's boring and I think that's overdone. So I was thinking, hey, I'm going to give you guys some suggestions of places to go after you eat a pizza, right? I'm going to give you guys some suggestions to go out, and here are my top 5 nightlife destinations in New Haven. By nightlife destinations, this means, hey, you know, me and the boys, me and my partner want to go out for a nice night on the town. Where should I go? This is kind of the inspiration behind this list. So I'm going to start out here with my top 5 nightlife destinations here in New Haven, Connecticut for whatever you want, whatever you want. If you're a club person, bar person, whatever you need, and cover it here in this list. So a couple of honorable mentions here. We're going to go with the Owl Shop as one of our honorable mentions. It's really nice, it's really fancy, it's really quiet and quaint. It's more for the sophisticated crowd. Usually an older crowd goes here, and it's not for everyone. Not everyone smokes a cigar, wants a bourbon or you know, one of those drinks on the rocks. But for people that do, I think it is a great place to go, and it's right there in the middle of downtown. It's a little hidden away, but it's where it's not a lot of traffic through it, so you can have a nice drink, a cigar. It's pretty nice. So my second honorable mention is Via. So Via is one of those places, either you hate it or you love it. There's really no in between. It's more of a modern bar. It's a little bit expensive, but you know, it does have a strong fan base for people who do like it, and people who don't like it just don't go there. It's right in the heart of downtown, and there's never really a line. There's no cover, so that's why it attracts a lot of people to go there. Like I said, it's more of a modern bar on a little bit of the pricey side, but it's nice if you want to go on a date or you're just hanging out with some friends who are in town. That's usually what Via is for. So those are my 2 honorable mentions. So the way I wanted to go about this list, you know, I kind of wanted to represent everything New Haven has to offer, right? So we have a lot of tequila bars, a couple of dive bars, clubs. However, I kind of wanted to take maybe the best one from each, and that's how I'm ranking my top 5. So at number 5, I got Geronimo's. I think it really encompasses the New Haven Spanish and tequila bar scene well. I think it's the best one. I think it has the best food. I think the drinks are really good, and I also think it's kind of not too expensive, but I think it's right in that middle. I think the atmosphere is great. It's quiet. It's good for a dinner and a late night drink. You can have a conversation in there. It's a good bar. So Geronimo's is coming in at number 5. So coming in at number 4 is 144 Temple Street, and this is more of a college crowd. And someone like me, you're not going to find me here on a Saturday night, but if you're a college kid coming from Quinnipiac, Southern, Sacred Heart, this is the place you want to be. So it's a club and a bar. There's a space to dance. There's a dance floor, a DJ, and then there's also a bar where you can come out to and have some drinks. It does get a little bit crowded, but they do have good drink specials. They participate a lot in the bar crawls, and they have a lot of events that go on. I think you eventually outgrow this bar, but it's just one of those, you know, key bars in New Haven that everyone knows about. And I think for college students, I think it's a great place to be. So at number 4, we got 144 Temple Street, otherwise known as Vanity. At number 3, we got Trinity. So Trinity's kind of taking that just American bar scene vibe. other pubs and dives that are around New Haven, but Trinity, I think, just encompasses kind of everything you want. They have live music, they got good drink deals, it's a big space, open bar, and you can talk to someone, you can have a conversation, but you can also, sing along and get some good food as well. It's just a place you can go where you can watch the game with one of your pals, but you can also go there on a Saturday night and meet new people. The thing that puts Trinity a little bit over the hump is they have an outside patio that you can go out, so you can have that breathing space. It's also a great place on St. Patrick's Day. It's really fun. It's an Irish bar, and I think Trinity is just one of those kind of, either you know about it or you don't, but if you know about it, you're always going to make it an option for you on one of those late nights. So Trinity comes in at number 3. So coming in at number 2 is Secrets. So Secrets is probably the hottest club in New Haven right now. It was kind of a toss-up between them and Ramage, but I had to go with Secrets because I think it's just the new kid on the block, and they're hot right now. The line's always down the street, and I just think that's where people want to be right now. Every Friday and Saturday night, people are lining up to get into Secrets. So I'm going to put it at number 2. The club scene personally isn't my forte. I can't deny that it's not where people want to be right now. It is. It's the hottest club. It's the hub of nightlife activity right now in New Haven. Is Secrets coming in at number 2. And coming in at number 1 is Bar. No, not what bar. Bar. It's one of the best club and bar scenes in all of Connecticut. You have a club, a big dance floor that you can go bust move, so you get a piece of that club scene in New Haven, and then you can also come out to 2 large bars, so you can kind of get that Trinity vibe as well. Quiet, talk to someone. They have pool tables. And the best thing about Bar is that they have pizza, and they have really, really good pizza. Some people may say it is the best pizza in New Haven if you like a bar type pizza. It's super thin, but they give you big slices, and they run it all the way till closing. So if you're out on a late night and you're at Bar, maybe you had a couple of drinks and you're hungry, you can go right over to the counter and buy yourself a couple of slices, and there you go. You have the entire New Haven bar experience. So coming in at number 1, it is Bar. So those are my top 5 late night destinations here in New Haven. I hope that kind of draws a little bit of controversy. I want to see what people think. Leave what you think down in the comments below. I want to hear what you guys have to say. I did get the stamp of approval from some people that indulge more in the nightlife than I do, so I hope that matters, but I do want to hear what people have to say down below. So please leave your comments in the comment section as we move on here to sports. So this is what this podcast is about. It is sports, and we have a lot to talk about. The Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers will be facing off in Super Bowl 58 in Las Vegas, Nevada, and that's going to be one hell of a matchup, and I can't wait to watch it. And I just want to say, some people were mad about this matchup. It's the same teams every year, it's the same, but why wouldn't you want to see the best 2 teams play in the Super Bowl? I mean, the Chiefs went through the Bills, the Dolphins, the Ravens. They ran through the AFC, and maybe you might not think they're the best team in the AFC, but they proved that they did, and they did it on the road as well. It's something that Patrick Mahomes and staff haven't done in his career. So it was super duper impressive to see him do that. The Chiefs are the best team in the AFC. The Niners are the best team in the NFC. Why would you not want to see the best 2 teams clash off? And if you're a football fan, you love this matchup. This is going to be an absolute masterclass chess piece match game where it's going to be every call matters. Everything's going to matter in this game, and I can't wait to watch it. If you're a casual fan, you probably won't enjoy it. You wanted to see the Lions. You wanted to see the Ravens. Yeah, I did too. But this is a really good game to watch if you're a true football fan and true aficionado of the game. So let's talk about the Kansas City Chiefs a little bit. So Mahomes, in his last 2 postseasons, has thrown 11 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. So that's pretty much unheard of. I mean, he has been on fire the last 2 postseasons. He really turns it on when it hits playoff time. Travis Kelce's been coming into his own too. He's kind of had his struggles this season, but I mean, these 2 have not lost a step when it comes to December and January. The Chiefs are looking to be the first team to repeat since the 03-04 New England Patriots, and they're the 3rd team to reach 4 Super Bowls in a 5-year span. The only other 2 teams to do that were the Buffalo Bills and the New England Patriots. So I want to talk about the AFC Championship game a little bit, and I want to give a nod to Steve Spagnuolo. He's going into his 5th Super Bowl appearance as a defensive coordinator. He's tied most all-time with only Dick LeBeau, the legendary Steelers defensive coordinator for a long time and Hall of Famer. But Steve Spagnuolo really dialed up a masterclass game plan in the AFC Championship game. They contained Lamar Jackson. They didn't really let him run, and they put a lot of pressure on him. They made him make plays with his arm, and they couldn't do it. I mean, the defense for the Ravens held the Chiefs to 0 points in the second half. In the last 10 years, years, every team that has done that in the playoffs has won. The Ravens being the first team to not do that and not winning that game. They only scored 7 points, and I'm going to tip my cap there to Steve Spagnuolo, the Chiefs defensive coordinator. I think he's just one of the more underrated pieces in this Kansas City Chiefs machine. I just think that he doesn't get as much credit as he deserves because they always talk about the offense in Kansas City, and I think the defense has been absolutely incredible this year. They've really helped this team maneuver themselves into a position to put themselves in the Super Bowl in good playoff standing, win their division. The defense has really carried this team for most of the year, so I want to tip my cap there to Steve Spagnuolo. I think he is one of the most underrated coaches in the NFL. And let's turn to the NFC Championship game real quick, just a little recap. I really don't think the 49ers won this game. And now, listen, I'm going to give my flowers to Brock Purdy, coming from behind from 3 touchdowns down. No doubt they deserve to win that game. But the Lions had it. The Detroit Lions played like they were losing that game when they were up by 3 touchdowns. Dan Campbell is an excellent head coach, and I have nothing but good things to say about him. But, I think this just showed his inexperience leading games and not playing as an underdog, playing as a favorite. When you're up 3 touchdowns, you just take the points. You don't need to go for it on 4th down in the 3rd quarter or with 7 minutes left, go for it on the 30 line. Kick the field goals. Take the points. Even if the 49ers came back, he put himself in a position where they had to score 2 possessions to win. If they came back and put up 34 points on you, but you had 30, you still can have a chance to drive down the field and score a touchdown. And the Lions just did not do that. I think they lost this game rather than getting beat by the 49ers. They were the better team. They were the better team. And they threw that game away through bad clock management, bad decision-making, and turnovers. And everyone likes that Dan Campbell is aggressive, right? Everyone loves his go-for-it mentality. And that's great if you're missing the play like they did when they missed the playoffs last year and they were trying to keep Green Bay out of the playoffs. So they go for it and they play aggressive because they have nothing to lose. It's the NFC Championship game, man. You got everything to lose here. You have everything to lose, and they did. You can't play the game like that. You have to be smart, and there's times to do that, and there's times not to do that. And Dan Campbell was just way too aggressive, and it backfired on him. And you can't play a coach like Kyle Shanahan, who's super experienced and one of the best coaches in the NFL. He's going to take advantage of flaws like that. So I think this is a learning experience for the Lions. I think they're going to be back. I think they're going to be head of the NFC North for at least the next couple of years. Hopefully they can keep that team together and keep them, on rookie contracts before they have to re-sign. But I really like the Lions this year. I think they're great. I think they're young. They're going to be back, but I hope this is more of a learning experience for the Lions. But I want to give my props to the 49ers as well. I think this game really showed their experience. In all playoffs, they've been playing from behind, and it's not really what you see usually from a number 1 seed or a favorite in the NFC or a conference team, I think that the 49ers have played from behind. They played from behind against Green Bay. They played far behind against the Lions, and it shows that their experience, they didn't panic. They never flinched. And that's really a testament to Brock Purdy as well, being Mr. Irrelevant. And he gets so much blame and hate from the media for really no reason. I mean, this guy never flinched. He brought them back by 3 touchdowns in the NFC Championship game to go to the Super Bowl. He's a young quarterback. Whether he's the 7th overall pick or the 7th round pick, it doesn't matter. This is a tough thing to do. And what he did was bring that team back, rally them, and they rallied behind him. They should have probably went to the Super Bowl last year if he didn't get hurt. They started off and they scored right away, and they looked really, really good against the Eagles. He had an unfortunate injury. Brock Purdy gets so much hate and dismay from the media for just being not flashy, basically. He's just not a flashy player. Yeah, he is a game manager. So what? He wins games. He's going to the Super Bowl. I'm kind of tired of seeing the Brock Purdy hate. He's literally done nothing wrong. He had one really bad game this year, but he is, in my opinion, the best game manager in the NFL when you take quarterbacks like Tua, Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins. These guys are game managers. They're not really game changers, but I think Brock Purdy is the best game manager in the NFL, and I think that means something. A lot of people might say, yeah, he's not better than Mahomes, he's not better than Allen. He's not. Those guys are game changers. But when it comes to game managers, he is the best in the NFL, and I think that really means something. I think that puts him in the conversation for a top 5 quarterback in the league. And that's a discussion for another day. But I really want to give my props to Brock Purdy. I think he showed so much poise, so much savvy in that game. And I think that's going to telltale a lot going into the Super Bowl. So like I said before, people are mad about this matchup, Kansas City 49ers. It's because you don't like the teams. But you got to appreciate what this game is going to be. It's going to be a chess match. I think it's one of the most coach-centric matchups we've seen since these two last played a couple of years ago. Andy Reid versus Kyle Shanahan. Kind of Belichick, McVay as well. Those were really coach-centric matchups. And you look at it like this. You got Kyle Shanahan, who's the prodigy, son of Mike Shanahan, a Super Bowl winning coach, one of the best coaches of all time. He's been to 3 Super Bowls as the offensive coordinator in Atlanta when they lost 28-3, gave up that lead. And then twice now as the San Francisco head coach. Andy Reid, he's kind of eclipsing Bill Belichick right now. He's trying to chase him as the GOAT head coach. He's already been to 4 Super Bowls with the Chiefs. He's won 2 of them. He's trying to add on to his resume, but Kyle Shanahan's still looking for that elusive first Super Bowl. So we're going to see if they can get it. But like I said, this is going to be such a coach-centric matchup. The game plans are going to be, I don't even know. I'm so excited to watch it. I think that this is going to be, every play is going to be a chess match, setting one thing up here, setting one thing up here, play action, read options. And the San Francisco 49ers do so much in the run game, and they move so many pieces around. I think Deebo Samuel might be involved a lot in this game as kind of a utility piece. I think you can see Deebo Samuel getting a lot of rushing attempts in this game, at least more than he's used to, not as many as Christian McCaffrey, obviously. But I think that the Chiefs are really going to hone in on McCaffrey, right? I think they're going to make Brock Purdy win this game with his arm. They're going to try to do their best to stop the run with Chris Jones and Nick Bolton. And then they have some pretty good guys in the secondary like Trent McDuffie. So the Chiefs really do have a good defense, and I think Steve Spagnuolo can be that coach that cooks up a really, really good game plan here. And Kyle Shanahan's going to have to beat him, so that's going to be a really good matchup to watch. I really think that the Chiefs' offense is going to have to do some creative things to get people in space. Now, I think they're going to run the ball a lot, though. I think that the San Francisco 49ers are going to chew the clock. I think they have to chew the clock. I think in the last couple of games, it was shown that the 49ers defense is kind of suspect to the run game. I think you can run it on this team. I like to see Pacheco get involved a lot in the run game. I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire could play a little bit of a piece coming in and being that change of pace back. I think this is going to be just a really low-scoring game. I think it's going to be who's going to hold the ball to the last possession. I think that's really what it's going to come down to. I think both teams are going to run the ball a lot. I think they're not really going to take a lot of shots downfield, not a lot of chances. I think they're going to value every single possession. This game's going to be decided by coaching. So I want to bring up this stat. Take it as you will, but I want to say it, and I want everyone to formulate their own opinions on it. So in 3 times in NFL history, this will be the 4th time that the same pair of head coaches have met in the Super Bowl. The other 3 matchups were Chuck Noll versus Tom Landry back in the 70s, Jimmy Johnson versus Marv Levy, the coach of the Buffalo Bills in the 90s, and Tom Coughlin, who coached the New York Giants, versus Bill Belichick in the 2000s. All those guys who won the first Super Bowl also won the second Super Bowl. There has never been a coach that has beat one head coach in the first Super Bowl that matchup they've had and then lost to them in the second. So Chuck Noll, Jimmy Johnson, Tom Coughlin, all 2-0 versus the coaches that they had previously coached against in the Super Bowl. Andy Reid obviously is 1-0 versus Kyle Shanahan already. So this is an interesting statistic. I think that shows that, some coaches have a good game plan against the other head coaches. They kind of know what they're going to do. They kind of know what their tendencies are. I think that that's a really interesting statistic that was brought to my attention. And Andy Reid, like I said, is already 1-0 in Kyle Shanahan. With that statistic being said, and what I said about a very coach-centric matchup, holding the ball, running the ball, I've been thinking about this all week. I've been flipping from Chiefs to Niners to Chiefs, back to Niners. I've been seeing what the public's at. I've been seeing what the spread is. I've been looking at the statistics. I've been looking at the histories. I've been looking at everything you need to do, and I've formulated my final opinion and final prediction of who will win Super Bowl 58. My final Super Bowl prediction is, drumroll please, the San Francisco 49ers, and let me tell you why. When these two teams played previously in the Super Bowl, the Kansas City Chiefs didn't win that game. The San Francisco 49ers lost that game. They didn't manage the clock well. They didn't hold the ball. They gave the Kansas City Chiefs opportunities, and they turned the ball over, and they had missed their opportunities. If Jimmy G completes that pass, they win the Super Bowl. I don't think these two teams have changed much, but what they have changed is that the Kansas City Chiefs got weaker on offense, and the San Francisco 49ers got stronger on offense. This game is going to come down to who can hold the ball longer and who can run the ball. The San Francisco 49ers, I think, have an improved quarterback in Brock Purdy than Jimmy Garoppolo. They have an improved running back. They had Raheem Mostert at the time, and now they have Christian McCaffrey. And then they really have all the same tools they had before, but they upgraded at the two spots I think that they lost that game from. I think their defense is improved, and I don't think that the Chiefs are as dynamic on the offensive side of the ball. Remember, Tyreek Hill had that huge catch in that game. If it comes down to that kind of play again, who's going to be that guy? They don't have that kind of guy. Marquez Valdes-Scantling? Sure. If I'm the 49ers, I'll take that chance. I think that the San Francisco 49ers are a better team than the Kansas City Chiefs, and I think that Kyle Shanahan goes in with that same game plan. I think as long as they hold the ball and they run it and they kill clock and they play smart and they don't take stupid chances and they don't turn the ball over, I think that the San Francisco 49ers win the Super Bowl. That'll mean that Andy Reid will be the first coach to lose against a guy that he had already beaten in the Super Bowl. I know I said that all three coaches previously are 2-0 against their predecessors, but I think this is going to be some NFL history here. It's going to be the first Super Bowl in Las Vegas, so there's already history to be written. I like the San Francisco 49ers winning 27-14. I think that's going to be a low-scoring affair. I think it's going to be, like I said, a chess match. I think that it's going to be I don't think it's going to be a lot of explosive plays. I think a lot of running the football. I think a lot of short passes, quick passes. I think Kelsey has a good game. I think Pacheco has a good game. But at the end of the day, I think the Niners come out on top 27-14. However, if Patrick Mahomes does win the Super Bowl, I think that he has solidified himself as the heir to Tom Brady. The only other quarterback to do what he's done has been Tom Brady. He's still got a ways to go, though. I hate that I'm seeing all this. Is Patrick Mahomes a go? We got to remember Tom Brady went to 10 Super Bowls. Tom Brady went to 10 Super Bowls. He is not even close to Brady right now, but Brady is on an absolutely astronomical, cosmic level. Patrick Mahomes, I think, will be his heir if he wins this Super Bowl. Now, if he loses this Super Bowl, now we got to start talking. You know, maybe he just can't win the big one as many times as Brady. It's kind of like the LeBron MJ kind of debate. He'd be 2-4 in the Super Bowl. Brady was 3-0 in his first three. So it's a little bit of a toss up in the air there. But I think Patrick Mahomes has really solidified himself, I think, already as unanimously a top 5 quarterback of all time. I think that he might still have a little bit ways to go to beat maybe Montana. He's not beaten Brady yet, and I think that's everyone else you have an argument for. You got an argument for Elway. You got an argument for Favre. You got an argument for Breeze. I guess Peyton Manning would be another guy. I don't think he's really passed yet, so I would say Brady, Montana, and Manning are the 3 guys that he hasn't passed yet, but everyone else, there's definitely an argument. Segment. A lot of you guys who tuned into our inaugural episode last week, you might remember our Forgotten Player of the Week segment. Well, we're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to change the name to Who Remembers This Guy? So who remembers this guy? All right, who remembers Dwayne Bowe? Dwayne Bowe played for the Kansas City Chiefs from 2007 to 2014. He was a second-team All-Pro in 2010, plus a Pro Bowl selection. He was the touchdown leader in 2010, so 2010 was basically his best year, but he also won the national championship with LSU in 2003. In his career, he caught over 7,000 receiving yards, and I think he's best well known for in 2014, which was Andy Reid's second year coaching the Kansas City Chiefs, when Kansas City threw 0 touchdown passes to their wide receivers. The entire season, they had 0 touchdown passes to their wide receivers. I just remember this because a lot of people had Dwayne Bowe in their fantasy leagues because obviously he was a good wide receiver, but he never caught a touchdown the entire season, and neither did any of the other wide receivers on the Kansas City Chiefs. This was the first time since 1964 when this happened with the New York Football Giants. So I want to read off some names of some guys who caught touchdown passes on that team. Obviously, they weren't wide receivers, but I think it's kind of funny to reminisce about this. So Travis Kelce caught 5. So Travis Kelce was, becoming one of those dominant players in the league. Jamal Charles, you remember him, one of the most dynamic players in football history for a short period of time. Jamal Charles had 5 receiving touchdowns. Anthony Fasano, the old tight end on the Dolphins, Cowboys, and the Chiefs, he had 4. Here's a name. Nile Davis had 1 touchdown. Joe McKnight, RIP Joe McKnight, he had 2 receiving touchdowns as a running back. And Anthony Sherman, the old UConn running back, had 1 receiving touchdown in that season, more than any other wide receiver. So the fullbacks had more receiving touchdowns than the wide receivers that year for the Kansas City Chiefs. So who remembered this guy? Dwayne Bowe. That is our Who Remembers Guy of the Week. So for our next segment, I want to do something fun. Tonight is the NFL Awards, or the NFL Honors, I believe is what they're called. It's basically just the award show for the NFL season. They give out the most valuable player, offensive player of the year, a bunch of different types of awards. So what I wanted to do was I took a look at the favorites and the candidates for every award, and I wanted to go through them. I didn't agree with some of these favorites, and honestly, they're probably going to be the guys that win. So I kind of want to get ahead of the curve and just kind of put my 2 cents in for who I think should take home every single award rather than who is probably going to win it. So I'm going to go through each award. So we got all the major NFL awards here, and we're going to go through them, and I'm going to discuss who I think should win. Rather than who is most likely going to win. So we're going to start with the Offensive Rookie of the Year. So the leader in this category is CJ Stroud. He's a heavy favorite to win. And I think the NFL just posted him winning this award already before the award show is even started. But, I mean, he was pretty much the no-brainer favorite in this one. And I have to agree. 4,100 yards, 23 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He took a team that everyone thought might finish last in the entire league to the divisional round of the playoffs. I think CJ Stroud is one of the next stars in this league. I think there's no doubt that he won the Rookie of the Year honors. I know Puka Nacua was in the conversation, but as a quarterback, CJ Stroud is going to take this one home without a doubt. So that's one of the few ones I actually agree with. So CJ Stroud, Offensive Rookie of the Year, most definitely deserved. So the next award here is the Defensive Rookie of the Year. So the favorite in this one is Jalen Carter. Now this one Jalen Carter was a favorite throughout a lot of the season, but recently, especially with the playoffs, it's kind of now a toss-up. And I really think that Will Anderson Jr., the defensive end on the Houston Texans, should take this one, should win this award. I think that Jalen Carter has had a great season. He's a defensive tackle for the Philadelphia Eagles, but I think Will Anderson Jr. and what the Texans did this year and what he did for that defense, I think just wins him that award. So let's take a look at the stats. So Will Anderson had 7 sacks, which was 4th among rookies, and that's more than Jalen Carter. He had 45 tackles and 10 tackles for a loss, both more than Jalen Carter. He had 22 quarterback hits, which is 1st among rookies. And if he wins this one with CJ Stroud, they would be the 3rd teammate tandem to win both offensive and defensive Rookie of the Years, kind of like last year when Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner took home both awards as well. So that would be the 3rd time in history that's happened. But I just think Will Anderson should take home this award. I think stats are a little bit hard to come by with this one just because Jalen Carter plays a not really stat-padded position at defensive tackle, and I think that his stats are really good for what he plays, but I just think Will Anderson was just more of a dynamic playmaker. And the Texans did go farther in the playoffs than the Eagles, so I'm going to give the nod to Will Anderson Jr. on this one. Let me know what you think down below. So Comeback Player of the Year is an interesting one. The favorite right now is Damar Hamlin, who had bigger odds throughout the season. Now the other 2 candidates that are in the mix are Joe Flacco and Baker Mayfield, but one candidate that I really think is deserving of it is honestly Tua Tagovailoa, the quarterback of the Miami Dolphins. Now, not saying anything about Damar Hamlin. That's what he did was pretty miraculous to say the least, coming back from an injury like that, but and if he wins it, I have no problem with that. But if you want to look at it from a stats perspective, I think that Tua should take home this award. Remember last year, he had a series of pretty severe concussions, and he had that game against Cincinnati where, he was down on the ground. It was pretty disturbing to watch, and he ended the season. He didn't even play the end of the season last year. He comes back this year. He leads the league in passing yards, 5th in touchdowns. He led the Dolphins to the playoffs. And after all of that, I think that Tua, out of all the candidates for Comeback Player of the Year, and I don't really know the criteria for this award, I think it's more of kind of just how you feel, I guess, I'm assuming is what they're voting for. Because if it's not based on stats, then I guess Tua isn't even a candidate. But if it is based on statistics and what they did on the field previous to the year before, I think Tua by far should win this award. Like I said, led the league in passing yards, 5th in passing touchdowns, led the Dolphins to the playoffs. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, the stats speak for itself. So I think that's really impressive what he done after the concussions. So I think that Tua should probably take home comeback player of the year. So we're going to move on here to the offensive player of the year. And this is when we start to get into the big 3 awards: the offensive player of the year, defensive player of the year, and the MVP. So I really do have a problem with the offensive player of the year one, though. Christian McCaffrey is the favorite to win this award. However, I strongly believe that Tyreek Hill should win this one. And I'm not being biased as a Dolphins fan. I'm really not. But I think Tyreek Hill should win this award, and let me tell you why. He came one category away from winning the receiver triple crown. He was 2nd in receptions, 1st in yards, and tied for 1st in touchdowns. He had 1,799 yards, 1 yard away from an 1,800-yard receiving season, which ranked 1st in the league. He had 13 receiving touchdowns, which was tied for 1st in the league, and he had 119 receptions, which was 2nd in the league. In all of NFL history, his season from a yardage perspective ranks 7th all time. So he had a top 10 receiving season of all time this year. And the person in front of him who had the 6th best season of all time was Justin Jefferson, who had 10 more yards than he did in 2022, who took home the Offensive Player of the Year award in 2022. So I don't understand how Tyreek Hill cannot get this award. When you look at it from an all-time perspective, from rushing yards, McCaffrey had a terrific season. Obviously, he had 1,400 rushing yards. And when you look at that from a yardage perspective all-time, that ranks as the 115th best season of all time. Very not a memorable season from a yardage perspective at all. And he didn't even lead the league in rushing touchdowns. Tyreek Hill had an absolutely monstrous, historic receiving season. I don't understand how he would not be the favorite to win Offensive Player of the Year. I think that Tyreek Hill should take this award home, and I really don't think that's much of a discussion. I think that McCaffrey's had obviously a great season, but Tyreek Hill was the best offensive player in the league all year. He changed games. He won games for the Miami Dolphins, and without him, if you take him off that Miami Dolphins team, they are very, very, very limited and not as dynamic as they want to be. So Tyreek Hill should be the Offensive Player of the Year. Now moving on to Defensive Player of the Year, and this one's a little bit more of a toss-up. Right now, the favorite is Myles Garrett, the defensive end for the Browns, and I do think he is deserving of this award. Personally, I think that it should go to TJ Watt. Now, TJ missed a couple of games. He missed the playoff game, but he missed a couple of games down the stretch as well, so that might hinder him in the voting a little bit. But let me compare his stats to Myles Garrett's stats, and then you can make a decision for yourself. So when it comes to total tackles, Myles Garrett had 42, TJ Watt had 68. When it came to solo tackles, Myles Garrett had 33, and TJ Watt had 48. When it comes to sacks, Myles Garrett had 14. That's a great number, is 14. TJ Watt had 19 sacks and led the league. They both had 4 forced fumbles. Watt had 3 fumble recoveries to Myles Garrett's 1. And on top of it all, Watt has an interception. Garrett does not. I think that when it came to playoff time, the Browns led up 40 points against the Houston Texans in the playoff game, and that was kind of a shocker. And when it came to playoff time, Myles Garrett played in the playoff game versus the Houston Texans, who put up 40 points on this Browns defense that was supposed to be the best defense in the league. The Steelers had to go to Buffalo and face a juggernaut with the Buffalo Bills. And to be honest, they kind of made that a game. It was a 1-touchdown game till the last 5 minutes, and TJ Watt didn't even play. So I think just the way the season ended for him, I think the Browns getting blown out in the playoffs, I think TJ Watt just having better stats than him throughout the entire year, and really that defense for the Pittsburgh Steelers carried that team the entire season. The Browns were kind of mushy on offense as well. Flacco came in there and started slinging it a little bit, but the Steelers never really had any dynamic offensive players. Really didn't have a consistent dynamic offense all season. I think that TJ Watt really carried that team and carried that defense. I think he should be the Defensive Player of the Year personally, but I wouldn't be mad if it went to Myles Garrett. He had a terrific year as well. Micah Parsons is also in the mix, but I think Garrett and Watt are the 2 finalists for this one, and I think it should go to Watt. I think he should get the nod for Defensive Player of the Year. So to finish off the award predictions and who I think should win, we're going to go to the most valuable player. Now, I'm going to warn a lot of people, you're not going to like this take. Lamar Jackson is minus $1 million to win this award. He's going to win it. Lamar Jackson is going to win the MVP. No matter what I say, that is not going to change. However, I think that the MVP should go to Brock Purdy, and let me tell you why. For one, one's playing in the Super Bowl and one is not, okay? And yes, if you want to trash Purdy and call him a game manager, you want to call him this and that, this and that, this and that, okay, but let's look at the statistics, okay? And I want to get a couple of things out of the way, okay? Both guys led their teams to #1 seeds in their respective conferences. We get it. Got that. Now, Brock Purdy had his worst game of his entire career versus the Ravens this year. When Lamar Jackson beat the Niners, he had 4 interceptions, and he got hurt, so he got taken out of the game at the end, but it looked like he got benched. He lost the MVP during that game, no matter what, okay? That is why Lamar Jackson is going to win the MVP. And for a lot of people, that's going to turn off any discussion for this debate. However, let's take a look at the numbers real quick. So when it comes to Lamar, he was 15th in the NFL in passing yards. Purdy was 5th. Lamar was tied for 11th in passing touchdowns. Purdy was 3rd. Lamar was 4th in QBR, which is really good. Well, Purdy was 1 in QBR. Wow, okay. When it comes to rushing, obviously Lamar Jackson has the advantage. He had over 800 rushing yards this season. That was first among quarterbacks, and he was tied for 4th in rushing touchdowns among quarterbacks. Obviously, Lamar Jackson's going to get the nod from the rushing standpoint, but let's add those stats together. Let's add passing yards, and let's add rushing yards and total touchdowns, and let's see where these guys add up. And where they add up is Brock Purdy is only 75 yards behind Lamar Jackson in total yardage on the season, and he's beating him with 33 touchdowns to Lamar Jackson's 29 total touchdowns. So he actually beats him by 4 touchdowns. So he's only 75 yards behind, and he has more total touchdowns than Lamar Jackson on the season. And one is in the Super Bowl, and one is watching the Super Bowl at home. And I'm not saying that on an all-time level, but if Brock Purdy wins this Super Bowl, the media narrative on him is going to change completely. And I just want to get ahead of the curve because I think that he can do it. I mean, he came from 3 touchdowns behind to win that game against a really, really good Lions team. When's the last time you saw Lamar Jackson do that? Now, the Ravens had a bad game plan, and the Chiefs said, hey, Lamar, beat us with your arm. And what happened? They scored 7 points. They scored 7 points. Yeah, Brock Purdy had 4 interceptions, and he had a bad game. If you take away Brock Purdy's 4 interceptions, his touchdown to interception ratio on the season would be 31-7. That is an MVP caliber statistic. Brock Purdy is playing in the Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson is not playing in the Super Bowl. Brock Purdy has grown throughout the season. Lamar Jackson has gotten hot throughout the season. That is a difference. In the championship game, Brock Purdy led his team from a 3-touchdown deficit in the second half to win and go to the Super Bowl. Now, the award show is before the Super Bowl, so we can't take that game into account. So just laying out what we know now, I believe that Brock Purdy should win the Most Valuable Player award because he brought his team farther. And if you look at it from a statistics perspective, they really have pretty identical statistics. And the nod for all the passing category goes to Brock Purdy. I think that Lamar Jackson is a terrific quarterback. I think that he is well deserving of this MVP. And I think it's kind of a weak MVP class in general. If you want to dive in and look at the numbers, and if winning has anything to do with it, I don't see why you don't give it to Brock Purdy. From a perspective of myself, I think that Brock Purdy should be this year's most valuable player. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We went over a lot. I want everyone to make sure that they enjoy the Super Bowl this weekend. Stay safe, and I hope to see you guys next week so we can recap the Super Bowl, have a couple of more fun segments for you, and stay tuned for more content on Tim O'Shea Live. So from Live with Tim O'Shea, I'm Tim O'Shea signing out. Appreciate you listening. Thank you very much.